Oh, here we go. Well, good afternoon and good evening. I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, and I'm also the proud brand ambassador for Rever. And if you're in the Pacific Rim, then it's a wonderful Wednesday morning to you. So we just had a real live example of tenacity. So I'm going to throw it straight over to Leanna, and why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, Leanna, and then we will bowl straight into our favorite subject right now, tenacity.
Oh, oh, thank you so much for having me on, Bruce. I am so happy to be here. Yeah, my name's Leanna Francisco. I am a mom, a homeschooling mom, a vegan entrepreneur, and the biggest thing that I do besides homeschooling is I spend my time helping moms with young kids learn how to make plant-based eating super easy with a system.
Uh-huh.
And also just have a super diverse background in also process improvement and management consulting like Bruce does. So we've had a lot to connect with, about over the 8
Yeah.
months we've known each
So
other.
right. So it's kind of interesting because we'll get on to how we got to the title Tenacity with Tap Shoes. But yeah, from our mutual connection, Elise Croft, we actually did a little workshop with her, if you recall. And
Yep.
then we connected, and I know Gracie Ruth is big on, the power of engaging with people offline. So we engaged offline and we had a wonderful Zoom interview, and then we realized, oh my goodness, we've got all this stuff in common. And the other thing that we did have in common is that we've redesigned our lifestyles somewhat, and we were talking about the attributes that took, and the word tenacity kept coming up. So why don't you share a little bit about the tenacity that you've had to apply, particularly in the last year or so, Leanna?
Oh man, sorry, I just drank my tea a little funny,
Did you
but
drop your tea?
more tenacity again.
Yeah.
So yes, in the last year, my life looks totally different than it did this time last year. At the beginning of March, end of February last year, I was full time owning a restaurant deli in downtown Olympia, which is where I live.
Right.
And I was like full time in the hustle of doing that business, 5 employees, day in and day out, cell phone on all the time because you never know when like the alarm's gonna go off and the fire department's calling you or something like that. But full into the brick and mortar business. And then, COVID hit and we were a new business already, just barely at the point where we were seeing that, the model was working and we were going to move on and continue to keep going. And then COVID hit. And in my community, things really needed to be shut down and shut down quickly. And so, with having a young child and everything going on with it, I actually made the decision pretty quickly to shut down permanently
Hmm.
because I just knew that it was not going to be what I wanted it to be long term. And I've also learned that when I know, then I make the decision and I go
Right.
like as soon as I know. It was the same thing when I decided to start that business. I bought it from a previous owner. When it was time to leave management consulting and go out on my own and try this wild vegan deli idea, it was time and I did it immediately. And so the same thing this last year, I just knew it was time to be done. So, there's just been thing after thing this year that has cemented the need to pivot quickly. And I not
Hmm.
only, when I closed the deli, I basically our most important product, our most loved product is a vegan breakfast sandwich, and went into business with my chef who had been an
Hmm.
employee previously. And we now sell these vegan breakfast sandwiches as a wholesale frozen food product. So we
Oh,
just,
wow.
pivoted right away, changed to that. And then as I settled into this new life, new way of doing things, um, began to launch this new business as a coach to moms that really want plant-based eating to be easy for them, have a system around it. Now, I had always done some of that coaching, not always, but for about 10 years, I've done that coaching, but always on the side, just here and there,
Hmm.
and never in a structured sort of way. So it's a whole
Right.
new thing for me now. Again, tenacity to figure out how do I persevere through all this different stuff, and then now figure out how to, for the first time, be running businesses while being home with a child, because my husband was always home taking care of my son, and then I was out working. And so now he's out working, doing what he loves. He builds homes. So he's out building homes, 5-6 days a week. And I'm home with my little guy, and then trying to figure out how to work too, which I know like so many parents are doing that. But I realized I wouldn't have it any other way. It's actually all these little hiccups in our life have actually, led me to this amazing place that I'm at right now, which really feels like an ideal place for me to be, like doing the home work life thing together as one thing rather than being away from it all the time. And I also grew up as a homeschooler. And so for me, it just feels kind of like coming home, that it's like, oh, wait, this is how families work, at least families that I've always been a part of. So it feels pretty amazing to figure that all out through a crazy year. It's been almost 1 year for my family.
Wow.
Just a few weeks away.
All right. Well, talking of families, I want to actually say hi to my LinkedIn family. I have some wonderful supporters, and I'm going to go down through the list real quick. Maria, Wendy, Brian Shulman. Oh my goodness, Brian Shulman. Thank you. He's the guy that got me on This Is LinkedIn Video, first time ever. And then Gracie Ruth Melendez, and we've got Nancy on, Maria. Oh my goodness, the whole gang are in the house. So welcome. And yeah, it's kind of an unusual meeting title, Tenacity with Tap Shoes. And while we were talking about tenacity, you asked me for an example, right? So why don't let's go through the little story that we did before and captured your imagination. So, and I'm going to share some parts of me that I have never shared with anyone else on LinkedIn. So
you all are in for a treat. Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. All right. Okay, go ahead.
So, so from the perspective of tenacity, I really want to hear a story from you first and foremost. And I had let you know that one of the things in my background is that I have a bachelor's degree in classical singing. And part of the homeschooling, unschooling experience for me was the fact that I was able to really pursue a passion at a very young age. So at 11 years old is when I started taking voice lessons. And I was, from that point on, singularly focused. I mean, I didn't go to school. I didn't do anything else besides babysit sometimes, right? But I was singularly focused on developing the skill of singing, acting, dancing for musical theater, opera, that sort of thing. And and I told you that I actually feel like that skill and the training as part that's, that you have to do to develop that skill uniquely prepared me for something like management consulting. You have to think on your feet, where you have to sort of vamp sometimes, where you have to know that the little things that you do behind the scenes to make things just right, to practice when no one's watching, to make sure everything will go smoothly the day of. That's actually how you accomplish goals. It's what you do behind the scenes that matters. And after I told you that, you let me know a little something about yourself too.
Yes, I did. So I love musical theater. I'm not as big a fan as I was, but actually back in my mid-30s, I actually went and saw a musical theater production. And it's a long story, so I'll try and keep it short. And I saw a guy called Jeff and his leading lady, Jackie, dancing and singing on stage, and I was just mesmerized. They were like two delightful people. They were similar age to me, and after the show I managed to work my way in a networking arena just to say hi. And I said, so what makes you do it? And they said, well, we're boring bankers all day long, so we need something exciting to do when we're not in the bank. So they had been doing musical theater, though, since they were little kids, because they came from a musical theater family. And I said to them, well, how does somebody like me that doesn't know anything about that, how do I get involved? And they gave me some advice. And the bottom line was, it's back to, you need to practice, you need to find a teacher. And I said, well, where do you find a teacher? And they said, well, actually, our choreographer, Jill, offers lessons. So they networked me. So talk about networking. It's a great networking story. So they networked me to Jill, and I went in my mid-30s to a first ever structured dance class with a lady called Jill, and she's like 4'10", got a voice as big as a mountainside. And she quickly realized that I had absolutely no clue how to keep time. I had no clue how to dance. I didn't know how to count in dance steps. Anyway, so talk about tenacity, but I had a goal. I had a goal that I promised myself I would do a show with Jackie and Jeff at some point in the future. And they said, when you're ready, then let us know. So it took me 5 years. I did dance class after dance class. I did jazz. I did tap. I actually did ballet. I did all of those things along a discipline structured, and little by little, I started to learn how to count in dance steps. And little by little, Jill was an amazing mentor and coach. So again, what a great example for mentors and coaches out there. She stuck with me. I mean, I was useless. I was just
5 years is a long time to be bad at something and to keep doing it.
Well, yeah, because particularly when you're not any good at it, and it's back to it's back to the common link that we had when we were talking offline, which is, it's all the practice that you do offline. It's all the practice not in front of the lights that you have to do to get good at a craft. Anyway, so fast forward 5 years later, I got to the audition. 2 weeks before the audition, I went on vacation. I went to Saudi Arabia, and on vacation, I got acute appendicitis with a small bowel infection. So I came back from Saudi Arabia in a box, and I was okay, but I missed my audition spot. So after 5 years of working my tail off, and so fortunately, Jill was the choreographer. And I went to Jill and said, "Hey, I can't do the audition." She said, "We're doing a makeup audition in 9 weeks." She said, "If you can get to your basic dance standards in 9 weeks, then we'll let you audition. If not, you're gonna have to wait another year."
Yeah.
So I got my butt out of bed from hospital, started working again, training, and 9 weeks later, I did the audition. I got accepted, and I found a picture, which I'll post afterwards. So this is a picture of Jackie in the middle, and there's a young boy to her left. And then this is the actual picture of me being in the line. I'm at the back of the stage, in the line. I was the least experienced, but the oldest guy. I was 39 years old when I did my first on stage tap dancing routine in a professional theater.
Was it like a review show, or was it like
no,
what was the musical?
It was a full-blown musical. It was in actually the first one we did was Oklahoma, but the one that the picture from is Kiss Me Kate, and I was one of the guys that ran the line in Kiss Me Kate, if you know the story. Mm-hmm. And no, it was for a fee-paying. It was in a professional theater called the Theater Royal in the city of Bath, and it was full house every night. So we sold out every night about 1,800 people, something like that. And it. Go ahead.
Keep going. I was just gonna say, it's an amazing story, Bruce, because it's like somebody that people think when they reach the ripe old age of 32 or something like that.
Well, I was 34, but anyway.
Yeah, but they feel like, well, I can't learn that anymore. I can't do that anymore, especially something like dancing or singing or a craft like that, or a sport or something like that. It's like, well, it's too late for me. I wish I would have done something like that.
Yeah.
But
well,
your story shows it's not too late to do things that you want to do.
Well, when you fall in love with a passion of doing what you promise, because I promised Jackie and Jeff that I would be in the line doing a show with them one day. And they said, okay, we will help you, but you got to do the work. So I had to do the work. And then actually the other funny piece of doing the work, I actually went to a weekend workshop with them because that was some of the things that they suggested. And in the weekend workshop, I got to do a ballet class with a prima donna ballerina who was 66 years old, and she had a cane and she beat time.
I was
And
gonna
I
say,
was
who did she smack with that cane?
me.
Yeah.
She would come
Yeah, I've had that
along.
before.
She would come along and prod me with the cane because she wasn't allowed to obviously touch me. But I wish I had that picture because I'm in the line. I'm the only boy in the line, and I'm in the line with an average age of girls that are between 6 years old and 12 years old in their little tutus.
Oh gosh, even kids. Oh wow.
Even,
I thought you were gonna say like college women or something, but actually little kids.
no, it was actually a university. The university was on a semester break, so we got to do it in a really nice dance studio. And it's funny because she said to me after the first segment, she said, "What are you doing here?" And I told her, and she said, "Oh," she said, "at the break, you need to come and sit and have a drink with me." So I was able to go sit with her on my own for 20 minutes and asking her about how she became a prima donna ballerina. And as you know, the only way you can teach at that level is you have to have been the lead in Swan Lake. So she told me that it took her almost 20 something years to go from a girl to become the leading lady in Swan Lake that allowed her to become ballerina prima donna instructor.
Wow.
So that's how it happens, right?
Yeah. That is
Yes.
just such a good story. And I look a little bit back, you said that you fell in love with doing what you said you're going to do, or with accomplishing goals you said. What was that thing you said? Because that's the Geminis.
Well, first of all, I fell in love with Jackie, even though she was even though she was in a relationship with Jeff. But I actually fell in love with their work ethic, and I also fell in love with their passion. So, and because they were willing to teach me and share with me and guide me, and I mean, the best thing they did for me was introduce me to Jill, who was the instructor and who was also their choreographer for all the shows. And so I fell in love with the goal of making it to the line.
Yeah.
And I kept that. So every time I fell off my tap shoes or busted, I found the tap shoes too.
Look at his tap shoes, people. Oh my god.
They have Teletone taps. So if anyone knows anything about taps, these are real life taps on shoes. And so I also found the tap shoes in my closet, buried, like many other things are buried in my closet. But
so are you going to do more shows? Is that what the tap shoes are about?
I already do shows. They're called LinkedIn Live.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting even more ideas for topics going forward.
Actually, my hip is not fully recovered from its second full joint replacement back last year. So, I might actually. Maybe I'll do it and post a video and see if anyone else wants to come tap in the line with me. It will be an old line these days, you know. It will be 26 years after I first did the line. So
wow.
But yeah, it was fun. It was we did a lot of things. We did a lot of different shows. We entertained a lot of different people. So it was amazing. It was an amazing adventure, and it was an amazing real life demonstration that if you put your mind to something and you fall in love with the passion of making it happen, you can make pretty much anything happen.
Yes. So. And I think that's the thing that's so important about this is that it's this attitude and this approach to doing things that's what's powerful about this story. Like, I love musical theater, and I totally know that guy. Like, that guy when I was a young, like 20 something, early 20s, and I was good at the things I was good at. There was always someone that was trying, and they were an adult, like a proper grown up, and they were trying to do it, and they would get better. They really, really would. And it was so admirable. I remember, as someone that had been doing some of this stuff since I was 11 years old, like watching a grown up not be good at something was amazing. And actually, I think that thinking back on that, those were formative experiences for me. So, like a lot of those little girls that were watching you try, they were probably like so much better than you. And, it's like it is so hard. It's so important for people to see that. And I feel like I saw that then, and I think about things like that now when something's hard or when I don't know how to do something, and I think, oh, I can't start that. And I think, oh, wait, but there was these people that didn't know how to do this stuff, and they were doing it when they were in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I'm in my late 30s. I can do this stuff,
You made me emotional because the other thing I always remember about Jeff, he had a really good job at the bank, but he was he was a really good dancer. So, I said to him, well, where do you start? And he would say, hey, come here. So we would go outside the rehearsal, and he would actually show me what he could do. And he could dance like Fred Astaire. I mean, he was just unbelievable, but he had no attitude. The guy was just like, hey, I'm a bank manager, and I love to do this because my job is boring. But he was, so he turned into this other character that also I'm not gay, but I fell in love with his character because it was the drive and the ambition. And he used to rehearse. I mean, he would never goof off. Every time he wasn't actually on stage with his leading lady, Jackie, he was always practicing. He was either walking or counting or doing his lines or making sure his costume was pristine. I mean, he was an unbelievable role model to follow. So
he was working in his art, and you got to see behind the scenes of that, which is really amazing to be able to see that. And another thing that I love about this story is how talented, and I don't mean talented like gifted. I mean talented like skilled. Actually, that's what I mean, skilled. How skilled regular people can be. Like, I think that we put people that are like really good singers or celebrities in that way, like up on these pedestals. But a lot of people can do those things, and it's because they practiced and because they committed to it, right? Regardless of it. I mean, one of the biggest things for me about the success in business that I've had because of this performance background, I mean, you are criticized non-stop. I mean, like, from just like the angle of your tummy, I mean, it's constant. And I mean, to get up on a stage, especially if you go like all the way through, auditions like you did, and like singing training with they call them juries. Like, it's like a test that you have to do. You have to literally stand up on a stage and you got to sing, and all of your peers get to write comments about what you did good and what you did bad. And all the teachers say out loud in front of everybody what you did good and what you did bad. And believe me, it doesn't matter how good you are, they always find way more bad than good. It's their job because the whole point is improvement, right? So it's like you also have to develop this whole way of being in the world that allows you to objectively get better, to allow yourself and your work and your blood, sweat, and tears, whatever that art is, process improvement, musical theater, coaching, parenting, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to allow yourself to be criticized and to be self-critical, and not in a negative way, but in like, I mean, it can become negative and can be toxic, right? But it can also be super healthy to personal growth and actually achieving our goals. And I mean, you had to have had a huge dose of that in those years. I know I did growing up in it.
Actually, I had another flashback. I need to find it. I kept one of the green slips, as they call them. So when you do, when you do your tap movements in front of the panel, they write down, you're trying to not concentrate, but they got their heads down, they're writing.
Yep, they're evaluating you.
Right at the end of the review, they give you this green slip, and I kept one of them because it said, has flair, has potential, but needs more discipline. And he's obviously not working as hard as he could be. Something to that word. And it's like,
oh,
but they nailed it because I was trying to be simpler, faster, better, and not put all the work in. And they called.
Yeah.
So a great
I love that.
Go ahead.
Love that, because I was just gonna say another important lesson for me about like musical theater training is that work behind the scenes, if you don't do it, it is always caught. I mean,
Yep.
it is always caught. If the standard of what's expected from you to be at the level you need to be at is, an hour and a half practice every day, and you're doing 20 minutes most days and an hour and a half sometimes, like, it is always caught every single time. Like, everyone knows, it's just, and it's such a terrible feeling to know that. But it's helped me, like, as a project manager. I was a project manager for years on like large IT projects for government projects. And that was the biggest thing for me, is like, I knew that those little steps, they matter, and it gets you there.
Yeah.
It just gets you there.
Absolutely. And
no shortcuts.
There is no shortcuts. And that was the one thing that used to drive Jill, my choreographer, crazy, because she knew that I hadn't done all the steps, even though they were baby steps. And she would call me out every time. And bless her heart, the times that she used to say to me, hey, you need to stay for 5 minutes, and I'd be there on my own. And she'd look at me and I'd say, I know. And she'd say, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I know. But it was only when I got the green slip from the panel that made me realize it's really evident, and they wrote it down. So
yeah, those evaluations matter. Like, it's those checkpoints. You're like, oh, it really does matter. Like, people really can see this stuff makes a difference. And you see that all the time in the professional world, like the people that put in the work and the people that don't. Like, it really does matter.
Yep. So that comes full circle, right? To, if you appreciate, I learned the hard way. I was stubborn. I was a late 30s guy that thought, I knew everything because I was pretty successful in my career. I just wasn't so successful in the, community theater arena. But what I did take away from that is, again, Jill was such an amazing mentor and patient coach that, the value of having that mentor that understands something that you don't she fast tracked my whole deal for me. 5 years, might seem like a long time, but I was in the line with people that had done 20 years, but they were only 25 years old because they'd done it since they were 5 years old, right? Well, I was started at 34 and I was in the line first time at 39. So, everybody's got a different route. And my route was perseverance and listening to my mentor, which was Jill, and the coach, which was Jeff and Jackie, coached me all the time. They take me to one side and say, hey, Bruce, don't do that. Or why don't you try it this way? Or why don't you think about doing it that way? Or, and that was part of that commitment. I made the commitment to them and they made the commitment to me, and we worked it out.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And you're right. It does speak to mentorship and how important it is, and what progress people really can make, like shocking progress with good mentorship. I started in management consulting, just supporting teams in IT projects when I was 21 out of music school. So like, I didn't know anything. And it was mentorship. It was like some really, really amazing people that saw potential in my abilities and taught me how to do things, and allowed me opportunities to learn. And very quickly, within 5 years, I was the project manager on projects like that. And because of that support, if I hadn't had that confidence that they had in me and the opportunities, and the true coaching, I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
done those things. So it's
Yeah.
100% the people that help you along the way.
Yeah, so it's amazing that I always say that we are more alike than we are disalike, and the core of what we all do, it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, what country you come from, what your beliefs are, I always say about 80% of us are more alike, or the things that we need to do and learn. And you just summarize that in such a great way. So all right, so let's do a little spotlight on you, because thank you for letting me zood about my story of tenacity. So what's the next steps for you? I didn't realize you'd launched the frozen vegan breakfast. Can you drop how do people learn more about that, Leanna?
Well, right now they can learn more about that. We have an Instagram account and Facebook accounts that are actually at Win Breakfast. So you can learn more about that. But that's really local right now to the South Sound region in Washington State.
Okay.
And it's really brand new and really fun. Other ways that people can connect with me and learn about me, I just launched a YouTube channel that's all about family living, really. So it's really helpful for those parents that are trying to do everything right now and trying to figure out how to get healthy food on the table. And it's really a lifestyle piece for families to support them. And anyone that's interested in plant-based vegan eating, they can connect with me on my profile here on LinkedIn. And then that profile has all the links to connect with me on Facebook and other ways they might want to.
All right, so they can find all the ways. So you've made it simpler, faster, and better for people to do that.
You got it. If they're interested, they can go there and learn more.
Yeah. Well, that's what I try and do. I have a little web page where people can get to anywhere that they need to learn more about me or learn more about people that I collaborate with. And thank you, everybody. I was so into my story, I forgot all the comments were running on the side. So I will make you a commitment. I will go back at least in the next several hours here tonight into tomorrow, and I will answer any questions that came up, or I will comment appropriately to anything that might have made you realize there's more parts of the guy in the blue shirt that, he's scared before.
That is awesome. Oh, Bruce, I'm so glad that you shared this story. I think people are going to learn a lot from it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for starting the whole thing off, because if we hadn't had the discussion about, hey, what are you seeing? How are you staying tenacious? And, it would never have occurred. So,
yeah, good. Yeah, great collaboration.
Thank you so absolutely much. Yeah, the key is collaboration, everybody. So if there's only one little lesson that you can take from this whole dialogue is collaborate with meaningful connections and do it over and over until you figure out how to help each other the best you can, right?
Of course.
All right, thanks.
That's good. All right.
All right, hang on for a minute. All right, take care, everybody.